My name is Seraphina, the masked lady. I was once human. Since then, I have lived many lives. I have been loved and reviled, adored and despised, been the child of a poor prostitute and a courtesan revered by thousands. When I was a child, a stranger with no face offered me the ability to move between the worlds. Since then, my every death has led to a new life. I once had a true love. He was ripped away from me when I was murdered in the 18th century. I search for him still. In the meantime, I walk in the shadows behind the universe, visiting realms both exquisite and terrible and bringing back stories and rhymes to amaze the mind and enchant the ear. Through my YouTube channel, I send the stories out into the world, hoping that my true love will hear them and reply. Hoping, if he does not, that I will find in the other souls who listen kindred spirits to help ease the pain. What of you, stranger? Did you come here tonight seeking a mystery? Do you hunger for a spark of excitement, for the dark thrill of fear? Will you listen as my tales unfold, knowing that some may very well take on lives of their own? Consider, stranger, whether you have the courage to walk between the worlds with Seraphina, the masked lady. Good evening, my darling ones, and thank you for joining me tonight. I have decided to share a rhyming story with you today. It was told to me by a bard from the 19th universe, where Britain exists as it did back in the time of the ancient Celts. In that Britain, every story is told in rhyming and song form. Listening to the bards of old compete for a place in the College of Bards has reignited my love of rhyming tales. When I returned home, I looked out this story. Tonight's tale is about a man in a dark place in his life and the dangerous but magical event that rips him out of his fog of despair. I hope you enjoy it. The Siren. I heard the siren singing from the water. As I stood out on the marina arm, the sea was like a mill pond draped in silver. Not one wave rippled. The expanse was calm. I'd gone walking that night when sleep escaped me. At first, I'd wandered on the stony shore, but too many pairs of lovers were out there. When I'd found I could bear the sight no more, I'd moved to the gray, curving marina arm that stretched its hands into the silver sea. I knew that at its end lay peace and silence. I could watch the heavens sparkle at me. The walk was long, and yet, I did not hurry. The salt breeze off the water eased my eyes. I trod the same path many times before, when a pounding head and heart filled up my night. Indeed, since the one girl I had ever loved was, by illness and cruel times swept away, I had become one who kept time with the owls, locking my doors at the break of the day. Not until the clock on the wall struck midnight did I rise and open my windows, looking to see what befell the world outside, whether it dreamed under sunshine or snow. I had money enough to meet all my needs, so I didn't need to work, graft, or strive. Many might have envied my peace and leisure, but honestly, I barely felt alive. I saw the sun as often as a vampire. Who knew he would burn at the touch of light? I spoke to no one. People flinched to see me, my face pale and my eyes as black as night. It wasn't that I didn't need company, but without love, I saw no reason to connect. I saw no point in human beings. After all, there was nothing they could do to ease the aching emptiness within me, bring life a meaning, to erase my strife. It hurt much less to cling on to the shadows, and in the darkness to live out my life. So, when I heard a voice both sweet and pleading, I was less silent than I was surprised. I looked to see if a woman had joined me, but in a few more seconds realized that the sound came from underneath the water. When it called out again, it spoke my name, in a voice not commanding nor with anger, but as a lover might breathe out her claim. To the man who caressed her trembling body, it was a sound of pleasure and delight, not the kind of thing one would expect to hear on the far border of ocean and night. I leaned on the wall and stared at the water. gently lapping on the sharp rocks below. I saw, to my amazement, a fair woman, with hair of green and skin like fallen snow. Her eyes, amethysts, glowed in the pale darkness, like jewels lodged deep in King Solomon's mines. She smiled at me through lips as red as coral. Her white teeth were sharp, filed into tines that should have made me fear. Instead, through my limbs, a trembling and warm lassitude grew. I was aware that she was something different, dangerous, more perilous than I knew. But I was also charmed. I asked, "Who are you? Are you not cold naked in the night air?" The lady laughed. The sound was rich and merry, so sweet it could make a man forget care. "The night and I are friends," the lady answered. "We made our peace many ages ago. But what of you? Your people seldom come here. The evening holds more dangers than you know." "The night calms me," I said, surprised that I was answering this strange creature honestly. "I don't sleep well. I am troubled by nightmares. But I feel better when close to the sea. When it is calm, the starlight in the waters glows strong and fair and lifts my spirits high. When the wind thunders and the waves break on me, I embrace the danger and feel alive." "You don't fear death then?" the strange lady asked me. "I rather think that he would be a friend." She tilted her head, her strange, wet locks shifting. "Something must have broken your poor heart then. I have known humankind for many long years, and they have made of survival an art. Only those in despair, whose spirits roil in anguish and fear, agree with life to part. I lost my heart, I confessed to the reaper. Death, gently smiling, took my love from me. Without her, I find that nothing pleases me. Now, I hide from light and sound fretfully. All through the day, I sleep, I wake at night too. Walk out like a bodiless ghost alone. I am a ghost myself, although still breathing. Your tale would have drawn pity from a stone." The lady said, "I feel for you so. I will tell you a great secret I rarely do. Among my people, giving your name to them means that you trust them never to harm you. It means that your arms open to embrace them, that you vouchsafe them even your life. Often, the exchange of names is only done between a new-bound husband and a wife. You are mortal and might not feel the same. But I ask you not to make cruel sport of me. If I show you this honor, it is secret. You have my word, fair lady of the sea." I answered her. She dipped her head and smiled. "In human speech, my name is Guinevere. I am a princess of the salty waters. I swim safely in currents that men fear. I ride before storms at Poseidon's side. And when the whitecaps crash the shore, I shout. I joy to know I'm unbound and immortal. My father's strength puts all my fears to rout. The sharks see me and bow their head towards me, like fierce soldiers saluting their queen. I sing to sailors when they're at sea alone, though sometimes they think my song a gull's scream." "Pleased to meet you, Lady Guinevere," I said. "And what brought you out on this misty night?" She shrugged. "I could find no sailors to sing to. You are the first man that I've had in sight. People don't like this weather. It unnerves them. The hush and darkness drive them back to shore. I could have stayed home in my sister's palace, but couldn't stand their fighting anymore. So I swam here where mortals risk their brief lives, to live upon the border of the sea, hoping to find one with a heart so heavy he might willingly go along with me." "To go with you and drown?" I asked. She nodded. "But drowning in my arms is bliss, no lie. There is magic in my embrace, and before you come below the waves and sink to die, I will make love with you, I'll show you heaven. So much so that you'll surrender your life in pleasure, regretting nothing that it cost, to lay with me and slough off all your strife." Of course, a sane man would have run away then, dashing back towards land fast as they could. But I was not a man healthful and happy. I stood staring, motionless as cut wood. I wondered if there'd be peace in the waters, if I'd be welcomed by the drowning sea, and if, at least, there'd be surcease from longing, if the fair, smiling nymph made love to me. I can't, I said, although I thank you, truly. Though I disdain them, still the human race has one more hold on me, one that will not break. The memory of my beloved's face is bound to them, our happiness, our loving, and every good thing before the false day, when her illness overwhelmed all her fighting, and her soul was carried from me away, is tied to people. Ah, but does it please you? Does missing her all night engender joy? Or is it that recalling poisons your soul, and any hope of happiness destroys? I tried to lie, but the truth showed on my face. Guinevere smiled. I can ease the sting of missing her. Down deep beneath the water, I promise you will forget everything. How is that possible? Our two minds will link. When I allow you to make love to me, I'll see what you recollect, and as we sink, I'll erase each memory gradually. I thought about that. Then I must have been mad. I told her, love me, and I'll go with you. What the hell? There is nothing to hold me here. No one loves me. I have nothing to do. Shall I come down to you? She smiled, delighted, and nodded, stretching her white arms to me. Now small lights began to shine on her pale skin, circling her body till she lit the sea around her with a beautiful bright pink glow. I saw her eyes, black orbs with pupils white. Again, a better man would have recoiled and reversed along the arm to the lights of docked ships. But I was entranced and happy. I scrambled down the stones, taking no care. Soon, I was with her, waist deep in the water. The girl in my arms, fingers in her hair. Her body resembled a human woman's, but her breasts were larger, her skin was cold. Close up, I saw that her hair was not just green, but that, in fact, it was tinged with bright gold. She kissed me, and her mouth was ripe, firm, and sweet. I felt her teeth, but they did not cut me. She seemed as eager as I was to take great pleasure from joining our panting bodies. I blinked, and my clothes were all gone, my jeans torn, my shirt and jacket likewise tossed away. She was in my lap, and I was inside her. We were indulging in such blissful play. I no longer cared for the world or for the people in it, only the mad, wild bliss I attained as the fair sea maiden loved me. Soon, the water near us started to hiss, as if the pinprick lights on her skin heated the waves to the point they boiled around me. There was no burning, though, only a tingle, as a million tiny bubbles brushed me. We hit the zenith together. I cried out. She screamed like a gull circling o'er the waves, or like a dolphin jumping through the bright air, crying their happiness in merry play. The aftershocks were still shaking my body when Guinevere's hands started to tug at me, pulling me forward, down over my shoulders, up to my neck, and underneath the sea. Perhaps the lassitude of our former act had lulled me to a place beyond all care, for I felt no fear of the growing darkness. I didn't struggle or weep in despair. In fact, it seemed simple and almost pleasant to stop struggling with the flow of life, to no longer ask why I took no joy from a world that didn't contain my dear wife. Guinevere was swimming downward, dragging me, so there was nothing I needed to do. Despite the slight discomfort in my lungs, I just stared up at the stars in the sky of blue. Looking at them made me think of my darling, how we'd met by the ocean one cold night. She'd been in a thin dress, cold and shivering. She and her then boyfriend had had a fight. The bastard had stolen her purse and left her with no money and no way to go home. So she was walking along the long coast road, a dangerous place, in the night alone. I'd offered her money, she did not take it. So instead, I'd walk the way back with her. We'd walked 12 miles through 4 towns and another. When we reached home, she'd written her number and told me that if I was a decent man, I could call her up by the light of day. I had called her, introduced myself to her, and asked her if she'd come with me to a play being shown in the city where I'd met her. She'd agreed, and we'd spent the night laughing. 3 days later, we'd gone to a bar where folk with too much beer and confidence could sing. A week more, and we'd brought a picnic lunch to the downs to eat in the open air. She'd taken me in her arms, and she'd kissed me, and the two of us had made love right there. After that, the old memories came faster. The first time we'd danced, when she first loved me, in her own bed, when she told me that her heart was in my hands and that she adored me. When I got down on my knees and asked her if she'd share the rest of my simple life, the moment that she'd said she would, she cried then, promising me she'd be a loving wife. And for the first time since my Sarah had died, the pictures didn't make me ache for her. Instead, I realized just how fortunate I'd been to love a girl as great as her. Suddenly, I understood what I should have done before someone dragged me to the sea. That I'd been a blessed man and that dying this way did not honor her memory. Of course, I could not speak, we were so far down, now that I could barely see any light. So, instead of attempting to babble words and drowning through fear and animal fright, I reached out to Guinevere with my tired mind. "Please," I said, "I ask you to set me free. I realize I have a life to return to. I don't want to remain beneath the sea." There was no answer. We kept going deeper. "Please bring me back to light," I asked again. When Guinevere didn't respond, I prayed God would forgive me as I breathed my amen. I thought, an angry sound beside me. My lungs were burning, and I knew that soon salt water would flow into me, and I'd die. Never again to see an autumn moon. Never again to taste a beer or eat food, smell the flowers or hear a child laugh. I cursed myself for forgetting my life's worth. I thought that fool would be my epitaph. Our direction seemed to change. I could not tell if we went right or left, if up or down. It didn't matter anyway. I was done. I'd let myself be charmed and now would drown. But when I breathed, sweet oxygen flowed through me. My eyes opened, still looking at the sea. But I was not beneath the waves. Instead, I lay by them, the marina behind me. I was naked, alone and a little scared. But I laughed joyfully, alive and well. Had Guinevere heard and decided that she was going to spare me? I could not tell. Whatever the reason, I was renewed, raised up, given a second chance a man to be. I felt like a man new baptized, who'd once been a drunk beside the shores of Galilee. I walked back to my home naked and grinning, as happy as a child who's known no strife. But never did I forget the strange lover that offered death but brought me back to life. Phew, that was a lucky break. For a minute there, I thought our narrator was lost. What do you think? Did the siren show pity on our narrator and return him to the surface, or did something else scare her away at the final moment? Did the siren return to her home in the sea? Did she perhaps fall in love with the human man? I'm not sure. Either way, the brush with death seems to have done what was needed most. It revived our narrator's zest for life. Please be assured I am not suggesting that any of my listeners who struggle with mental health problems should try to drown themselves or go out searching for a siren for that matter. I take from this story that there is beauty in the world. When we are at our lowest, we may not be able to see the loveliness of life, but patience, hard work, and the proper support can bring us back to a place where we are once more aware of its glory. If you do relate to anything in our narrator's story, please be sure to talk to friends or family and seek out professional help. You might be in a bad place now, but it can and will get better. Have a good night, my darlings, and dream sweet dreams. I will see you again next week.